Once upon a time, in a bright, green forest, where sunlight dappled through the leaves and the air was filled with the sweet songs of birds, lived a little pheasant named Patch. Now, Patch was a very special bird, but not in the way you might think. Unlike the other pheasants, whose feathers were smooth, sleek, and painted with brilliant colors, Patch's feathers were a little different. They were a bit scruffy, a bit uneven, and stuck out in all sorts of funny directions. Some were long, some were short, and they were all a muddled, dusty brown. Because of this, some of the other, flashier birds would often tease him. "Look, it's Patch the Ugly," they would chirp as he walked by, ruffling their own perfect plumage. The proud peacocks would fan their magnificent tails, and the colorful parrots would squawk with laughter from the high branches. Patch always tried his best to stay cheerful. He would hold his head high, puff out his little chest, and go about his day with a smile. He had a heart full of kindness, and he loved nothing more than to help others. If a family of squirrels couldn't find enough acorns, Patch would scratch at the ground with his strong feet until he unearthed a hidden stash for them to share. If a group of little chicks got lost while playing hide-and-seek, Patch would patiently guide them back to their worried mother. He would even sit by the riverbank in the evenings, singing his own sweet, quiet songs to the rhythm of the flowing water, bringing a sense of peace to anyone who listened. He was a good friend to everyone who took the time to know him. Still, deep down, when he was all alone and saw his reflection in a puddle, he couldn't help but feel a little sad. He wished, more than anything, that his feathers could be as beautiful as everyone else's. He dreamed of having feathers that shimmered like jewels in the sun. One sunny afternoon, as the forest animals were busy playing and foraging, a strange feeling settled over the woods. The bright blue sky began to darken, and a low rumble echoed in the distance. A big, gray cloud, looking like a grumpy giant, rolled in and covered the sun. Suddenly, a fierce wind started to howl through the trees, bending the branches until they groaned. Then, the rain began to fall. It wasn't a gentle pit, it was a torrential downpour. The storm hit the forest with all its might. Thunder crashed, and lightning flashed across the sky, lighting up the frightened faces of the animals below. The wind was so strong that it shook the very foundations of the trees. Nests, once cozy and secure, were tossed about like little boats in a stormy sea. Panic spread through the forest. The flashy peacocks, who were usually so proud, quickly tucked their magnificent tails away and hid under large, thick leaves, shivering with fear. The shiny parrots, who loved to show off their bright colors, squawked in alarm and huddled together in the hollow of an old oak tree. They were all too scared to move, too worried about their beautiful feathers getting wet and messy. No one dared to venture out into the raging storm. But Patch was different. As he watched from his little sheltered spot under a fern, he heard faint, frightened chirps coming from all around. He saw the tiny, fragile nests swaying dangerously in the wind, and he knew that many baby birds were trapped inside, cold and scared. His kind heart couldn't bear it. Without a second thought for his own safety, brave little Patch spread his scruffy wings and ran straight out into the storm. The wind pushed against him, and the heavy raindrops soaked his feathers, but he kept going. He was determined to help. He scrambled up a tall pine tree, his claws gripping the slippery bark, to reach a nest that was about to be blown away. Inside, 3 tiny finch chicks huddled together, trembling. Gently, Patch picked them up one by one in his beak, and carefully carried them down to the safety of a hollow log where their mother was waiting anxiously. He then scurried over to the riverbank, where a family of ducklings had been separated from their parents. He fearlessly guided them through the swirling puddles, quacking encouragingly until they were reached. He ran from tree to tree, from bush to bush, guiding frightened animals to shelter and comforting those who were lost. His messy feathers were now completely plastered to his body, and he was covered in mud from head to toe. But he didn't stop. He was a small, brown blur of courage in the middle of the chaotic storm. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the storm began to calm. The fierce wind softened to a gentle breeze. The rain turned into a light drizzle and then stopped altogether. The dark clouds parted, and a single, brilliant ray of sunshine broke through, casting a warm, golden glow over the drenched forest. As the animals slowly peeked out from their hiding places, they saw a remarkable sight. There stood Patch, tired and muddy, but with his head held high. And as the sun's rays touched his wet, scruffy feathers, something magical happened. Instead of just being brown, his feathers began to shimmer and glow. First, a hint of ruby red appeared, then a splash of emerald green, followed by a streak of sapphire blue and a flash of sunny yellow. The sunlight refracted through the raindrops clinging to his feathers, turning each one into a tiny, sparkling prism. Soon, Patch was covered in the most beautiful, dazzling rainbow colors anyone in the forest had ever seen. His feathers shone more brightly than any peacock's tail and glittered more splendidly than any parrot's wing. It was a breathtaking sight. The forest fell silent as everyone stared in awe. The little chicks he had saved chirped a song of thanks. The squirrels chattered their admiration, and even the proud peacocks and parrots looked at him with newfound respect. They realized that they had been wrong all along. They had only seen a scruffy exterior and had completely missed the beautiful heart within. From that day forward, no one ever called him Patch the Ugly again. Instead, they called him Patch the Brave. He became the hero of the forest, not because of his new, shimmering feathers, but because he had shown everyone what true beauty really is. It isn't about having the most colorful plumage or the smoothest coat. True beauty shines from the inside out. It's found in kindness, in courage, and in the love we show to others. And Patch, our brave little pheasant, was the most beautiful of all. Thank you so much for joining us for this magical tale. We hope you loved Patch's story as much as we did. Remember to always let your own inner light shine. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and do not forget to subscribe to our channel for more wonderful stories. See you next time.